Welcome, my dear listeners, to another episode of Useless Information. It's me, Michelle, and today we're going to be diving into the fascinating world of the United States interstate system. And I'm pretty sure you're like, what? What's so fascinating about that? I don't know. I just think the highway system is kind of interesting, to tell you the truth. But this is useless information, things you probably don't even care about, but we're going to do it. But before we get into that, let's talk about the movie Ghosted. I can't put my finger on why I cannot get into this movie. I have tried twice and I'm stuck. I can't seem to finish it. And I'm going to try again because I really do want to see it. But for some reason, when I found out that Scarlett Johansson was supposed to play the leading lady and then she had to back out due to a scheduling conflict, I just could never see anybody else. So I couldn't see the chemistry between Anna de Armas and Chris Evans, despite the fact that they've acted in Knives Out together. I just couldn't put it together. It wasn't working for me. But from what I read, it is one of Apple TV Plus's highest streamed movies. And critics have panned it. And I can understand why, because it is boring to me. It is so slow. Maybe I didn't give it enough time to let the action happen. But Chris Evans, he's playing this handsome, rugged, nice guy, but can't seem to hold on to a woman. Because why? Nice guys finish last. But this is Chris Evans. Does Chris Evans really finish last? I mean, come on now. I can't see it. So the story to me, that was just, like, what do you mean Chris is having trouble keeping girls? Like, I get it. But the trailer had me pumped up. And when I first saw it back in, I think, late March, early April, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to see this. Came out a week ago and I've tried it twice and I can't seem to get with it. I don't know. Maybe if we had found out that Chris's character was also a secret agent for some made up clandestine agency, I don't know. Maybe that's more like a flip of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I don't know. Who knows? But this fish out of water thing, and he takes on the bad guys with no training, is an interesting spin. And like I said, I am going to try again. But that's my little opinion on that. But anyway, buckle up as we take a trip down memory lane and learn some new vast things about the network of our highways and how it has shaped the United States into what it is today. And the interstate system has grown to include more than 46,000 miles of highway, making it the largest highway system in the world after China's. But before we get into it, let's get a word from our sponsor.
Are you a book lover searching for your next captivating read? Look no further than Something Borrowed. Enter a world of love and longing, where Mickey Monroe stumbles upon the mysterious creature known as Lucky. From the moment they lock eyes, Mickey knows there's something different about this charming fellow. But alas, fate has other plans for Mickey's blossoming attraction towards Lucky, as he's already taken by her employee, the lovely Laura Moore. As a new player enters the game, the delectable Beth, Mickey finds herself entangled in a web of desire and passion, where Lucky is the prize that everyone wants. Follow the twists and turns of Lucky's enthralling journey in Something Borrowed, a tantalizing romantic tale that will have you on the edge of your seat. Will Lucky choose Laura, the devoted girlfriend? Or perhaps Mickey, the alluring newcomer? Or maybe, just maybe, the fiery Beth will win his heart. Meet Luke Lucky Varino, who's caught between his ex with a vengeance, the loving but clueless Laura, and the alluring newcomer who's shaking things up. Don't miss out on this captivating love story that will leave you breathless. Will Lucky's luck run out, or will he find a way to navigate this tangled web of romance? Find out in Something Borrowed. So grab a glass of wine, cozy up with a blanket, and prepare to be swept away by the irresistible charm of Lucky and his tumultuous love triangle. Something Borrowed will have you on the edge of your seat, as the mystery of Luke Lucky Varino is uncovered. So why wait? Pre-order now at Amazon, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble, Google Play Books, and Kobo. Delivers May 12, 2023. Paperback is available at Amazon now. Find out more at www.michellescarey.com. This ad is sponsored by Sunray Multimedia.
The interstate system is a network of highways, and it spans across the United States, and it connects cities, towns, and states. This we know. But it was originally created to facilitate the movement of goods and people across the country, and it has become an essential part of the American transportation system. However, the interstate transportation system has also had its fair share of challenges and criticisms. I know when I'm driving down the freeway and you get a lot of potholes and bumps in the road and it's not very smooth. And some of the exits are kind of off. And if you miss your exit, you have to go sometimes miles and miles before you get to the next one. And then you want to loop on, you want to go around and loop on to the other side, but sometimes there's no exit for that. But like I said, today we'll explore both sides of the argument and give everyone a better understanding of our interstate system. So the birth of the interstate system. The roots of this is it can be traced back to the early 20th century, but it was President Dwight D. Eisenhower who was the one who revolutionized the American transportation system. I did not know that. But on June 29th, 1956, President Eisenhower, he signed the legislation funding the construction of the U.S. Interstate Highway System, the IHS. And this is something that Americans have been dreaming of since cars started rolling out from Detroit. But his motivations for a highway network, it stemmed from three events. His assignment as a military observer to the first transcontinental motor convoy, his experience in World War II, where he observed the efficiencies of the German Autobahn, and boy, oh boy, would I love to drive on the Autobahn. I know somebody who has done it, and they told me about how much of a thrilling experience it was. Yes, I have a heavy foot and I have the need for speed, and I would love to get on the Autobahn. They say it's really crazy and it's probably thrilling, scary. But I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And then the third thing that motivated him was the Soviet Union's, at the time, the Soviet Union, today known today as Russia, their 1953 detonation of the hydrogen bomb, which instigated a fear that insufficient roads would keep Americans from being able to escape some type of nuclear disaster. So Eisenhower, he championed the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, which kickstarted the construction of the interstate system. Now, this network of highways was designed to connect major cities. It was to provide efficient and safe travel and boost the country's economy, because now you can get from place to place fairly easy. The interstate system, it was designed with both the civilian and military purposes in mind. It not only facilitated the movement of people and goods, but it also allowed for efficient deployment of troops and equipment during times of national emergency. And by the early 1990s, nearly 45,000 miles of interstate highway have been completed. So the benefits of the interstate system. One of the most significant benefits of the interstate system is that it has facilitated an economic growth and development across the United States. The highways have made it easier for business to transport goods and services across the country, and they have created new opportunities for trade and commerce. I know, just ripping and running up and down different highways, you got all the gas stations and you got the restaurants, and you're going through the city. So it does facilitate the ability to drive to a different location and be like a tourist. Another benefit of the interstate system is that it has made traveling more accessible and convenient. I drive all the time. Actually, let me tell you, the month of March, I was doing a lot of driving. I drove to my daughter's school in New Jersey. That was up 95. Stayed there for a while. We were going to a bowling tournament in Ohio, and then I drove from New Jersey to Ohio, crisscrossing across Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Turnpike. At the same time, a rock also hit my windshield. I had to get that fixed when I came back. But it was 9 hours. It was 9 hours, and it was only a day trip, so we had a quick turnaround. All that to say, I don't really think that flying and of course train. None of that would have worked. The only way that we could have did that on such short notice and to be able to get it done efficiently was to drive. Before the highways were built, traveling long distances were often challenging and time consuming. The interstate system has made it possible for people to travel quickly and efficiently, which has made it easier to visit family and friends, go on vacations, and explore new parts of the country. One of the most significant criticisms of our highway system is that it has contributed to the decline of cities. I know that the traffic around my area, good Lord, the highways have made it easier for people to live further away from urban centers, which has led to the creation of suburbs and things of that nature. But this in turn has led to the decline in the quality of life in many cities. As people have moved away from the urban core, they have taken their tax dollars with them. And as you can see in a lot of cities, you got food deserts, which means that you don't have as many grocery stores anymore because of space. All the grocery stores have moved to the suburbs. I think through gentrification and revitalization, those things are now coming back. But still, it's just been this reversal kind of thing. Another criticism of having the interstate system is it has had a negative impact on the environment. The highways have contributed to air pollution, noise pollution, and the destruction of natural habitats. If you always see they're cutting down trees to expand highways to make them bigger. So instead of 3 lanes, they want to make them 5 lanes to take out the bottlenecks of traffic. But additionally, the highways have encouraged the use of automobiles, which has contributed to the greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. I think that's why there's a big push in the Biden administration for people to get electric cars. I am not going to be getting an electric car anytime soon because then you're just going to be draining the grid, the electric grid. It's like 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. But our system is aging. It's approaching the 70th year, if I'm not mistaken. But concerns about the aging infrastructure have become more prevalent. And despite the convenience and ease of movement, the interstate highway system, it really is showing its age. When funding was appropriated in 1956, planners knew that at some point in time, roads, bridges, and various infrastructures would deteriorate. But have we been able to keep up with that? No. So the IHS was expected to last only until the 1970s when improvements would be needed. This is now 2023. That was 50 something years ago. And do you think that we've been really doing a good job of keeping up with that 46,000 plus miles of roads? Probably not. But the 1956 appropriation, it ran out in 1972. And the current funding is sustained by the motor fuel tax, which is funneled into a trust fund with the goal of creating a high-speed, limited access network that would connect all major cities in the country. The system was designed to handle a certain amount of traffic, which was intended to last for decades. I don't think that they thought that through, where even if you notice in certain types of neighborhoods, older neighborhoods, you didn't realize, okay, let's say it's an older townhouse community. You would say, okay, everybody gets like 2 cars, one for the wife, one for the husband, or for the 2 people that live in the house, correct? Not the kids' cars. My neighbors, they have like 5 cars, but you only got 1 reserved space, and the other spaces are unnumbered. So they're extra spaces. So they're taking up a lot of spaces because they have a lot of cars. I don't think that when they put together the interstate system that they realized that there would be so many cars on the road in 2023. I think probably they thought in 2023 we'd have flying cars. And yeah, not yet. So one of the most significant concerns regarding the aging of the interstate system is the state of bridges. We're crossing a lot of bridges. There are a lot of cars and 18-wheelers and RVs and just a lot of wear and tear on the roads and on these bridges. But according to a 2019 report by the American Road and Transportation Builders Association, more than 47,000 bridges across the country are in poor condition, requiring urgent matters of replacement. We are on these roads, people. We are crossing these bridges, and they are in disrepair. They need upgrading. We need to figure this out. These bridges, they carry approximately 178 million vehicles daily and are essential to the flow of commerce and travel throughout our country. And many of these bridges, they were built in the 1950s and 60s and were designed to last for 50 years. So we're well beyond that time, many of them exceeding their intended lifespan. The risk of collapse or failure increases, and it is a significant threat to public safety because, yeah, you're out there and you are driving and you're going across that bridge. And this was highlighted in July of 2007 when an unfortunate tragedy happened in Minnesota. And on a summer day near Minneapolis, a section of a steel arch bridge on Interstate 35 collapsed into the Mississippi River. The accident killed 13 people and injured another 145. The accident, it just remains one of the worst bridge failures in the United States history, and it highlights the poor condition of our nation's infrastructure. We are out there. Think about that, people. You all are out there driving on those roads, driving across those bridges. And we don't know the real structural integrity of those things because they're so old. Instead of sending money to other countries and other places, why don't we reinvest it back into our country and our infrastructure? But that's my own personal thought. But at the time of the incident, approximately 150,000 of the nation's nearly 600,000 bridges were considered either structurally deficient or functionally obsolete. That's sad, y'all. And that was according to a 2012 ABC News report. But since the I-35 incident, political leaders have called for major investment in our nation's infrastructure. I just don't think it's happening. We are focusing on the wrong things. We're focused in on the wrong things. So another area of concern is the interstate system's pavements. It was also reported, it was found that about 173,000 miles of interstate pavement across the country are in poor or mediocre condition. And as a result, the ride quality is rough. Have you been over some of these roads? Oh my God. Especially Michigan. Have you driven in Michigan? Do you know anything about Michigan? Their roads are horrible, and they always seem to be working on those roads. And every time I drive up there, I never see any improvements, but that's neither here nor there. Which means that your car is experiencing more wear and tear, which leads to increased maintenance costs for drivers and businesses. And that's more money out for that. And furthermore, poor pavement conditions can be hazardous, leading to accidents and injuries. Because if you're not taking care of those potholes and somebody drives in their car and it hits a pothole, and let's say it damages the rim of the vehicle, which in turn fucks up the tire, then the tire blows out. Now you're trying to control the car on the freeway with a bunch of other cars. I'm just saying. The aging of the interstate system has also led to concerns about the ability to handle increased traffic volume. The original design of the interstate system was based on projections of future traffic growth, but I don't really think that they thought about this much traffic, which has underestimated the number of vehicles that would be using the system. Wholeheartedly agree on that one, because yeah, it's a lot of cars out there, and they're trying to sell more cars. So the result has been an increase in congestion in travel times, leading to increased fuel consumption, air pollution, and greenhouse gas emissions. Additionally, as the population has grown, the urban areas have expanded, the interstate system has become more congested, leading to delays and lost productivity. Oh, it all adds up, people. It all adds up. In recent years, the funding of the maintenance and improvement of our interstate system has become a really sticky issue. It is a significant issue. The federal gas tax, which is the primary source of funding for the Highway Trust Fund, has not been raised since 1993. And as a result, the purchasing power of the gas tax has diminished, and revenue generated it's not enough to keep up with the rising costs of maintenance and improvements to the roads and the bridges. But according to the Congressional Budget Office, the Highway Trust Fund will become insolvent by 2022. So it's already insolvent if no action would have been taken to address the funding shortfall. I have yet to hear of anything out of Congress or any president that talks about this Highway Trust Fund. I didn't even know about the Highway Trust Fund until I started researching this topic, and that it would become insolvent by 2022. So what's going on now? Because this is 2023. So to address the challenges facing the interstate system, I think policymakers and transportation experts, that damn Pete Buttigieg, I don't really know if he's doing his job. They have proposed a range of solutions. One proposal is to increase the federal gas tax, which will provide additional revenue to the Highway Trust Fund. Another proposal is to implement tolls on certain segments of the interstate system, which we already have, which will provide a new source of revenue and allow for the implementation of congestion pricing. It's always a fee, there's always a tax. But this can also help reduce traffic volume and improve air quality. Additionally, there have been calls to increase investment in public transportation and other alternatives to driving, which can help reduce demand for the interstate system and alleviate congestion. I'm not personally getting on anybody's public transportation. Been there, done that. That was way before we had COVID-19. Now, you can't catch me on public transportation. That is not my bag. I love my car. I like being in my car. And that's just the way it is. And I'm pretty sure a lot of other people like their cars too. But most Americans see the interstate highway system for what it is. It's just a really quick, efficient, and convenient means to travel. It really is. And the mobile culture, which hit its stride in the 1960s, has thrived on the networks of these paved roads. Along the way, an entire segment of economy was born. Businesses catered to travelers, hotels, motels, restaurants, and service stations appear, like I said, all along the interstate axis to serve all you weary motorists, right? But perhaps now is also, and this is my own personal thought, perhaps now is a good time to look into high-speed rail as a mode of transportation, because high-speed rail in the United States has been a topic of debate and discussion for many years. And while high-speed rail systems have been successfully implemented in many countries like Japan, France, and China, the United States, unfortunately, has been a little bit slower to adopt this technology. And I guess it's just maybe because of the cost, the political opposition, and maybe the lack of infrastructure, but it can be done. We just have to figure it out, because high-speed rail has the potential to transform transportation in the United States. Can you imagine, instead of having to drive 9 hours somewhere, you can get on the high-speed rail train, maybe put your car on that high-speed rail train and get there maybe in 3 hours. But I guess the implementation of it has just been slow and limited. But with continued political will and funding, it could be possible that high-speed, rail, it just could be something, and it could be a part of our transportation landscape, taking some pressure off of our interstate highway system. If they want to talk about the environment and helping with the environment, why don't they do an impact study to find out how high-speed rail would help with climate? How about that? But anyway, I guess. But in the end, have you seen Ghosted? What did you think about it if you have seen it? And if you haven't seen it, are you going to see it? Do you have Apple Plus TV to see it? And what do you think about our interstate highway system? Is it really falling apart? And can the federal government or maybe state governments, what can they do to make it better? Do we need a high-speed rail system to alleviate some of the pressures put on our roadways? I don't know. But anyway, Let me just say this. If you're liking what you're hearing in the Useless Information Podcast, please take the time to hit the follow button or subscribe button, whatever your platform asks you to do, so that you're kept up to date with when I go live with another episode. And if you're liking what you're hearing, do me a big favor. Leave a review. All right. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. If you're listening to this on YouTube, leave me a comment. Happy to have you here, because your follow or your subscribe and your comments and your reviews let me know and lets the podcast guys know you are like, yeah, whatever Michelle is doing, I'm with it. Okay. I know. But as always, I'm grateful for your listenership, and I thank you for being a part of the Useless Information crew. So let's do this, y'all. Today and always, until next time, be well, stay safe, and give love.
This podcast has been produced by Sunray Multimedia and Michelle Carey. Music by CreatorMix.com. The YouTube audio library and editing by Descript.